You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and... she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
There's no show like it on the interweb of things. Actually, there's many shows like it, but that's not a big banner headline. When you have to have, like, excitement about this stuff. So this is a fiercely unique show. We're the only It's not. It's wonderful. We have a good time. It's the Loftus party, everybody. You've got a sleep-deprived Michael over here in Los Angeles, and you have a very busy Gypsy over there on the East Coast of things.
Yes.
I guess we'd call... No, you're in the South. Whatever, the Southeast.
Yeah, I like the South. I don't like being wrapped in with those East Coast elites.
Those sons of bitches. I hate them.
Exactly.
There's a ton to talk about. There's a ton to get you caught up on. There's a ton to discuss. The philosophy of things, what's going on in the news. I know, here's some of the subjects that we're going to hit. This is my little tease. This is my new thing to keep people listening. Stay listening. At the end of the show, we're going to talk about Sandler on SNL, Game of Thrones, Hillary Clinton. Well, we'll probably get to Hillary before that on Rachel Maddow. But we got to talk about the Facebook bans. We got to talk about the censorship. That seems like it's number one in my book. I don't know. What's the Mueller-Barr thing? I want to give you guys my 2 cents on that. It's not getting out of hand. It's been out of hand for a really long time, and I'm really ready for someone somewhat competent on the right to stand in and have some cojones. We're going to talk about spying on Trump. We're going to talk about Buttigieg, Joe Biden. What's going on in Venezuela? We got to talk about. There's a lot, and so we should probably start with the Facebook ban because I think that's what affects everyone the most.
I have thoughts.
If you listen. I'm sorry?
I have thoughts.
I do too. I do too. Like my knee-jerk reaction is just I'm horrified. I'm horrified by the entire thing. And I'm horrified that, like, as I'm talking about, hey, the Facebook ban and all this stuff, like, it's already affecting my judgment. I'm like, what's the title of this episode going to be? Because I don't want to put Facebook in there. I don't want to put Facebook ban in there and all that stuff. It is, it's scary. It's disconcerting. I'm not sure what the answer is, and that's what I love to do on this show is like make fun of stupid stuff that's going on and then have some kind of like ray of sunshine, some little ray of hope. I don't know what the answer is. And I can't say this. Oh, then you get ready. You get ready with that answer. I just want to say this really quickly. I haven't seen all of his videos, but that Paul Joseph Watson guy from Prison Planet, I never ever thought that dude was peddling hate speech or bizarre conspiracies. I never ever thought that. So to me, he's whatever. I don't want to talk about who's innocent and who's guilty and blah 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 blah. It's about freedom of speech or no freedom of speech. So, Gypsy, enlighten me. Bring in a little ray of sunshine because I know you always got it.
Okay, so I tweet lots of unpopular things because I guess I have a different thought process than most people. And I get the whole private companies, low regulation, da-da-da-da-da. That is not the point. Facebook, Twitter, and the social media platforms are already, first of all, they're public companies, not private companies. They're not like Hobby Lobby. They are traded publicly on the stock exchange.
That's a very good point. Okay. There you go. Gypsy's on fire.
Second, when these platforms popped up, they made assurances to the FEC and Congress and said, we want to be governed under Section 230 of the Communications Act, right? Like the phone company. In other words, we are just a non-biased platform with which people can communicate. AT&T can't cut off your phone system no matter how anti-Semitic, homophobic, misogynist, or racist you are on the telephone. They're not peeking into your phone call and saying, no, Michael can't say that. Cha-ching, no phone for you. Right?
This is another super solid point. I'm not even kidding. You are crushing it. You're hitting home run after home run over here.
We can't regulate social media because my private company. No, they're already under a regulatory scheme. One they asked for, one they gave assurances to get the protections from. Okay?
Skadoosh.
If they are not going to live up to the assurances they made, take them out of Section 230 and make them publishers. Period.
Okay. Now let me. This is okay. I'm serious. I have to wrap my brain around this. Mm-hmm. Who else is saying this besides you? You are the first person, this is a serious Loftus Party pat yourself on the back podcast moment. Because like last week we were all like, we're ahead of the curve. We're ahead of the curve. I'm not kidding you, Liberty Gimlet. I have not heard anyone else say this in all the discussion. You've
heard some congressmen allude to it, like Ted Cruz, when the executives have been on the Hill. It's come through a lot of debate among my colleagues at the Resurgent, because we all have thoughts on this. Imagine that. And then some folks online, if you look at some of the larger accounts that are calling for it, they've mentioned this regulatory scheme. But to sit here and say that private companies, first of all, not private companies, public companies should be free from regulation, such as Facebook and Twitter, is just a lie. They're already subject to a regulatory scheme.
Well, we need to shout this from the mountaintops. We need to get it going because
ultimately, I don't care what their decision is, but they don't deserve the protections that the telephone company gets and other true platforms or utilities get, right? If they're not going to live by the same rules.
Well, so that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. And then we also have to we have to address that. Hopefully Ted Cruz will stay loud and stay proud. and this is like conspiracy theory Joe over here. It just seems like the other side is getting away with it. It's like Facebook, and this is maybe just a vicious rumor, but like, hey, if you repost something by Alex Jones and Infowars, if you repost something by Prisit Planet, if you repost something by Paul Joseph Watson, they're going to get rid of you too. It's like there's like this guilt of association.
Guilt by association. I've seen that. I haven't gone back and actually verified Twitter's public statement, but my favorite part of this,
I'm so glad you have a favorite part.
They threw in Louis Farrakhan just to prove that they're fair.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's, but I don't like that ratio. I don't like that, hey, here's 1 for you and here's 3 for us.
No, because then all of the legacy mainstream media, other than Fox, was basically taking the position that, and actually their headlines read, far-right extremists banned from Facebook. Excuse me, since when has Louis Farrakhan been on the right? Well, he's anti-Semitic, so clearly he is. I'm like, are you kidding me? You guys have Ilhan Omar. Stop.
It's
stop.
Well, they'll just say that's just sloppy journalism. That's just what, we make mistakes, and sometimes as the Fourth Estate and the gatekeepers on truth, justice, and the American way, you make mistakes. It's very, very dangerous, and it seems it's tinfoil hat stuff. It's let's get this out of the way now. Let's get this out of the way now as we get closer and closer to the 2020 election. And I really feel like this is the tip of the iceberg. It's the tip of the iceberg. And I peddle in jokes. And a small government philosophy. So hopefully I will be exempt. But you guys, go to the loftusparty.com and sign in, make your account. I don't like the idea of, listen, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second. Let's say you are on the board over at Facebook, and you do want to protect people from fake news, and you do want to protect people from quote unquote hate speech. I gotta know who's making those decisions. I gotta know. And if you do have a policy, it has to be very, very clear, and it has to be enforced equally. You can't just willy-nilly, holy smoke. And then the other one that drives me crazy. Yeah, have a policy, enforce it equally. But this is to all the people who are, hey, just go build your own. Hey, just go start your own. And I love the optimism of some of these people that you see on social media. They're like, there's got to be a rich conservative out there who wants to do. I guarantee there is. It's very hard. It's very, very hard to try to do a big social media thing. And then even if you do, say what you will about Gab. Say what you will about Gab. They're literally trying. I will give them credit. They are literally trying. And there's just a list of people who won't allow them to be on their PayPal won't allow them. BitPay won't allow them. Coinbase won't allow them. All the hosting places that won't allow them. GoDaddy, Asia Registry won't allow them. App Store won't allow them. Google Play won't allow them. That they will just systematically unperson you. So it's not so easy just to make your own.
And that's not the only problem. Okay, I think all of these people out there, just build your own. And I mean, there are some things out there. Minds.com is based on blockchain. It's a decent platform. I don't really understand their TOS, so I can't recommend it. I'm there, but
terms of service.
I'm figuring it out, right? The IDW community has just launched. They're still kind of figuring their whole thing out. But the other thing is, there is an article in Gizmodo, which is a fairly decent tech publisher. Even if you're not crazy about their politics, there's an article in there. I cut the big 5 tech companies from my life. It was hell. When you start to understand what kind of footprint these organizations, especially Google, has in server bays and everything else, you really start to understand how dystopian this could actually get. I mean, if there are places where you can't get internet service if you decide to take out, to not ping Google servers. And basically, when you sign up for here's the other thing that makes me super mad. When you sign up for any of these platforms, Facebook, Google, Twitter, etc., you look at their terms of service and you agree to use those service in exchange for an inordinate amount of your personal data. So in order to post ads on Facebook, they have a copy of my driver's license. They have my driver's license number. They have my full name. They have where I live. They have my home address. Okay?
Oosh. Yeeg.
That's what they require now to post ads, because Russians post a few ads on Facebook, and clearly that swung the election.
Yeah, that was it. That was the big one.
Whatever. Facebook is technologically savvy enough to be able to tell that I use a home IP and that it's located in the United States. They shouldn't need anything more than that. But anyway, I'm saying you give it. So even if I posted a Paul Watson video tomorrow, and the rumors are true, and they banned me, they still have all of my personal information.
And how do you get it back?
You don't.
How do you? You don't.
You don't. It's this.
Well,
it's the same with Google. It's like, and their terms of service, Facebook terms of service doesn't specify anything. They just talk about these vague things called community standards. And when you read about community standards, you could ban anyone according to those. They need solid terms of service that say if you literally incite violence, a call for violence is defined by the Supreme Court, right? If you literally post child porn, if you dox someone, and if you do, or you post revenge porn, you're gone. Those things are all against the law. Or if you are engaging in terroristic planning is against U.S. law. Okay.
I don't want to get mired down in the details. They keep it vague for a reason. They keep it vague for a reason. Like the IRS keeps it vague for a reason, so they can just use their laws whenever they want to use their laws.
But no other public company would get away with having a user contract that looked like that.
Right. So we've got to get the government involved. Yeah, is that where we've landed on this? That we have to take away these protections?
Involved. The government gave them the classification that protects them from copyright infringement laws and everything else, because they were supposed to be a non-biased platform.
So the government needs to take away those protections.
The government needs to take away those protections.
So the government needs to get involved is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Oh my God.
So actually I want the government to do less.
Well, to get involved to take away the things.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh my God.
But they're already involved.
I don't want to be worried about what I'm posting on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be worried about it. Now, if the government needs to step in and take away some protections, then so be it.
Yep.
So I don't want to get bogged down in the semantics of it all. I want to have some hope.
Yeah, no, but I mean, if they were not governed under the set of regulations like the telephone company, they would be governed as any other publisher, right? They would be broke inside of 6 months. If they were responsible for all of the content, because they actually want to curate now, right? They want to say these ideas are not okay. And when you go back and you look at, because Project Veritas, James O'Keefe, has actually had people embedded in these organizations.
Oh, he's next. That dude's next. They'll get. I'm not even kidding. They'll get rid of him.
Oh, I know.
They'll get rid of him.
The amazing part of it is when you listen to these engineers talk. I remember a specific one where the engineer said, well, if they're posting about guns and religion and da-da-da-da-da, they have to be a Russian bot. People inside of these companies are so fully bathed in leftist ideology because of where they live and the industry they're in. They don't even understand there are valid opinions from Americans on the other sides of these issues.
No, they don't, and that's the big problem with it all. I was doing this whole thing of these people who live in ivory towers or worship the people who live in ivory towers who are making these willy-nilly decisions. Oh, you're a bad person, you're off the platform. Oh, you're a bad person, you shouldn't get to vote. Oh, whatever it is. It's crazy. I was down at Comedy and Magic doing stand-up the other night, and there's this kid from Manchester, England. Really funny kid. Has a great closing bit. But we're hanging out backstage. And he, of course, he starts talking, and I'm like, oh, where are you from? He's like, oh, Manchester, blah, blah, blah. Another comic says something about Brexit. He rolls his eyes, and I'm like, I didn't know which side of the issue he was on. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, yeah, that's a tough one over there, man. That's a tough one. That's got to be incredibly frustrating with Brexit, because I'm coming at it. I'm coming from the side of everyone who voted for Brexit 3 years ago and has watched the government drag their feet. And this kid, I forget his name, he goes off. He's like, yeah, you've got all these idiots voting on something they don't understand. Like, he was so against Brexit. And then I go, dude, like he's literally implying that, well, people are so stupid, they shouldn't have voted for this. They should regret their vote and thank goodness that they're dragging it out and looking for another revote. And I'm thinking, boy, dude, that is how you get revolutions right there.
Yep.
You got that is, and he's like, but just put the smart people inside. Let the smart people make the decisions.
Oh my God, like, he's totally brainwashed.
He's gone. He's gone. And that's like, I have to like maintain friendships with these people and their social niceties. So I just zipped it. But
I would have had a very hard time zipping it on that last part. I give you kudos.
Oh, I was biting through my tongue. And I'm like, good riddance there.
Serious respect.
I have no faith in the people in ivory towers. I have no faith in, and that's what I love about our system of government. And it's what we got. There's so many other things to be concerned about.
It's supposed to be messy.
Yes, and literally that's how you get the best result. That is how you get the best result. I'm upset with these little states trying to pass these laws about if we don't see Trump's taxes, then he's not going to be allowed on the ballot in 2020.
So dumb.
Boy, there's a dangerous precedent. And what makes me upset about this, and what I want to go after people for, is like it only affects the president and it doesn't affect the people in the state. Like, I'm like, hey, how about this? How about if you run for public office, you have to unlock? I want to see them all, because I'm fiercely interested in Nancy Pelosi. I'm fiercely interested in Maxine Waters' tax returns. Like everybody, hey, if you ran for public office, hey, I don't care if you're running for dog catcher. Let's open them up.
They all do financial disclosures, so I'm not sure what the president has done a financial disclosure. I don't understand what the big deal is. Like, I honestly don't care. I think the financial disclosures are a bigger deal. They contain information that the tax returns don't.
Yeah.
So,
and for all the people out there, I'm with the president on this one. You know Mueller looked. You know those guys looked. And he's so
can I just tell you how tired I am of Robert Mueller?
Oh my gosh, this whole thing. I'm ready to shift gears on this one like yesterday.
No one can ever tell me again he's an honorable man. No, he's not. That phone call to William Barr that letter was a complete setup.
Yes. Yeah.
And the craven politics of dropping it the night before Barr is going in front, like, how do people not see this? That wasn't a bombshell. The Washington Post had that freaking information for a month.
It is, and then the loosey-goosey terms in which he's talking about, like, you hear a lot of lawyers, and this is the interesting thing, like literally trying to remain somewhat neutral in this. You'll have some lawyers who are like, well, it's an obstruction, there is kind of a case there, and then the other lawyers are like, absolutely not. So there is an argument over it. And if there's an argument over it, I guess you can say that then you say, are you going to press charges or not? That's what the Mueller investigation was supposed to do.
Exactly.
We think there was a crime here. You should press charges. We don't think there was a crime here. You shouldn't press charges. Nobody hired him to punt on one of these things,
and
they say it reeks of this certain, and I don't know the guy's name because I'm not a newsman, I'm a comedian. That it reeks of this one dude who was in charge of the Enron investigation.
Andrew Weissman.
Yeah, yeah. Who really is really good at creating a fog of war and making people look bad and getting a lot of people in trouble. And then ultimately, when it goes to a higher court, they go, "No, you're out of your mind."
Well, I'm not neutral. Okay? And
good for you.
I always said, everybody, let's wait for the Mueller report. Like, I'm not getting my panties up in a wad over any of these bombshells in the New York Times or the Washington Post until I see the real deal, right? He had one job. One. And he really didn't even have that job because it was a made-up job. Okay?
Yeah.
He knew within a very short period of time that there was no Russia collusion. He should have come out publicly and said that at that point in time because the dossier was a pile of garbage. We know that now.
Yeah.
He strung it out. So, literally, I believe at this point, from all of the analysis I've read from people much smarter than me, from reading the report itself, from watching the behavior of Mueller and Barr and everyone else, he literally strung it out, waiting for Trump to do something stupid because he is so unpredictable and he can be so impulsive. The longer this went on, the more likely there would be some kind of solid obstruction thing.
It was all about perjury. It was all about trying to get him on obstruction, and it was all about getting him to perjure himself. That was it.
Closed it, just as we said, as soon as Bill Barr was in the chair.
It is. I don't know how you communicate this to people. I really don't. Just as a guy coming from the media, as a guy coming seriously from like the Hollywood and from branding and performing and communicating with people, it's wild to watch. I'm almost in admiration of it, how good the left is. And not everybody. You've got the idiots, but like for the most part, even the people on the left that you see on Fox News, they're really, really good at like just Russian meddling. They just stick to that. They stick to it and they don't move off it. Protecting our democracy, Russian meddling, protecting our democracy. And you just keep saying it over and over and over, and it just keeps getting baked in. I know I've said it before, but like, I find it's stunning to me, and at least to the New York Times. I'll give the failing New York Times some credit. They're starting to publish pieces about Trump being spied on, and they're using that word.
That whole thing, that was another piece of propaganda. John Solomon broke it down perfectly. They can't deny that the Trump campaign had information collection on it. They didn't use spying in their headline. They talk about this woman, what was it, Azra Turk, who sounds suspiciously to other intelligence people like a CIA agent. Because of the way they didn't identify her, that means John Brennan is in the soup. But they were trying to spin this as something they were doing so they could tell Donald Trump. If you read the article. It was another spin attempt.
I did not read the article. I don't go out of my way to read anything really in the New York Times. I find it to be like seriously odious and boring and against everything that's
obviously when I saw the headline, I thought what you thought, and oh my God, the tide is turning, right? Like, oh my God, the MSM is actually going to report on what the actual story was here. Yeah. And I read it and I'm like, what garbage? What garbage? Anyway.
It all comes back. Well, to sum it up, and I just don't know how they play it out. They've done a very, 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 very good job at trying to villainize Barr as some kind of boot-licking lapdog for Trump, who's betraying his country and wipes his butt with the Constitution, so that when Barr starts to uncover this stuff, the American people will go, well, that's just Barr making stuff up. That's just him making stuff up. They're already out in front of it like that. And then you've got people like Chris Wallace and others on Fox News certainly going, isn't the American people getting tired of this? Aren't they getting tired of this? And I'm like, no, you'll never ever ever hear me getting tired of this at all. Yeah, reply to Hammerjack. Hammerjack needs you to reply to him immediately, because that's what is important. And I'm glad we're focused. Joe Biden, what a joke that guy is. What an absolute tool Joe Biden is. What's the over-under on his campaign imploding?
It's got to.
What are you thinking, like another 2 weeks? Does he have another 2 weeks, or does he have another 5 days?
I've heard two schools of thought on Joe Biden, right?
One sniffy, two huggy. No, what?
No.
What?
One is there, and I believe both are true, and I'm kind of interested in how it's going to work out. Let's put it that way. One is that Democrat primary, let me try not to make it one word, voters are much further to the left than the Democrat coalition, right? So Joe Biden is too centrist to make it through the primary with the people who will actually vote in the primary. Because not all people vote in the primary. The other school of thought is that centrist piece of the Democratic Party is really much bigger than the group that is far left, and they're more concerned with electability, and Joe Biden is seen as most electable against Donald Trump.
I think Biden is gone in 4 weeks. I think what meaning his numbers will be so low. He's on this false high right now. It's once again these polls where you can't. The way here we go again about polls, but the way they run these polls and look at this, Mike Buttigieg is beating Trump in a head-to-head matchup by 152 points. They're ridiculous. The samples are ridiculous. I can't even believe I'm talking about polls after 2016. But with like Joe Biden, have you watched him speak? Have you watched what he's saying? Have you? He looks like, seriously, he doesn't look well. And this is just my opinion. He does. Say what?
He had some big gaffe like yesterday, and I can't remember what it was.
Oh, he's mumbling. He's and then China's not our adversary.
Oh, that.
China's not our adversary. Are you crazy? Like, and then whatever. I did a whole video on Joe Biden, but it's like that dude. It's name recognition. It's just coming off of the 8 years he was in there with Obama, but and I think they're trying to steer people towards him because, like with these polls, you can't answer I don't know. You have to pick somebody. So people are going, oh, okay, I guess if I had to, I guess Biden, because they it's just name recognition. I don't. He's not a. Oh, I don't think he's a serious threat. I don't think he has a decent idea. Like, what can he campaign on? Come on, man. Mumbling, stumbling.
I'm looking because this morning I saw something about his son's finding
that keeps heating up.
Not the Ukrainian thing, but China.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
His son's investment company is really involved in China or something.
Oh, it's super dubious. This goes back to I want to see everybody's taxes. Like, I really want to see, like, with Joe Biden, professional politician since 1973. I'm sure he's very good at it. But, like, there's a foundation in there. There's some big players. Like, his sons, who are these, like, super geniuses that get on these boards of trust. They're on the board of the directors of the satellite company, but they've never even launched a model rocket. Like, what the? It must be nice. It must be nice when your old man has been a senator since 1980 or whatever the heck it is.
Dude got kicked out of the military for testing positive for cocaine in 2014.
Hey, it was war. Things happen. Sometimes you need a bump when you got to guard. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I will publicly say here, Joe Biden's numbers will tank will tank within 30 days.
That's my
I think
gut, but then I hesitate, and I'm not exactly sure why.
Well, it's I literally now am beyond being able to keep track of everybody on the Democratic side.
De Blasio's entering.
De Blasio's going in. That was another thing I was talking about on Fox and Friends. It was a very good segment on Fox and Friends today.
De Blasio,
I know
the people in New York City hate him.
Oh, just the audacity of this
New
guy.
New York in the primary. He wouldn't.
It's just the fact that he's talking about running, and yeah, go for it, dude. Go for it. You can claim to do for the rest of the world what you've done to New York. You know, I'm going to crush small businesses. I'm going to keep big companies like Amazon out of here. I'm never going to have the trains running on a consistent basis. There's going to be crime everywhere, and yeah. Go ahead, De Blasio, run, please run, please run. Here's the cool thing that happened. I'm just going to segue into a little bit of entertainment right here on Fox and Friends today. I was on talking about SNL, and Sandler was on, and he did a great job. He did. Saturday Night Live was a lot of fun to watch last night, and I talked about De Blasio, yada yada. So Pete Hegseth and Ed Henry and Jedediah Bia were the hosts. And they were talking about comedy and their favorite comedians. And they're like, you know who's funny? You know who's really funny? And I'm like, oh, this is so sweet. They're going to talk about me. And they're like, ooh, Greg Gutfeld. That guy's really funny. And so then they go, oh, you know who else I like? And I go, okay, now they're going to say me. And like, oh, who's really, really funny? Rick Rightmuth, the weather guy. So,
weather guy?
Yeah. So I was giving them some grief about that this morning. But that Pete, they're all wonderful people. Pete Hegseth, Ed Henry, Jedediah. It was a lot of fun. But this, I'm going out on the road, and I'm doing these stand-up shows. And I was thinking about putting one together in New York, and now I have to, because I called out. Hegseth was saying that he always wanted to be a stand-up. He always wanted to do comedy. And I've seen him do, like, speeches and stuff. He's a really good public speaker. I'm like, here's what we're going to do, dude. I'll put together a show in New York. I don't know if Hegseth is a Jersey guy or a Long Islander. Maybe he lives in Manhattan. I don't know. But I'm going to put together a show. It's going to be myself, Reno Collier from the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, and my buddy Brian Hayner from the Deplorable Show and from the Jeff Dunham World Tour and Showtime and all that stuff. But I did this on the air. I'm like, Hegseth, I'll put together a show in New York. I want all the Fox and Friends people, all the Fox people come out. We'll all do stand-up. We'll just have a blast. We'll raise a bunch of money for whatever charity we want to do, and it'll just be fun. And God bless him, Hegseth, like instantly shoots me a tweet. Like I'm out. I just left the studio to get in my car and come home, and Hegseth's like, I'm in 100%. So I'm like, holy crap. So now I have to do this. I am looking forward to it so much. It would be hilarious. Hilarious. I want to get Brian Kilmeade on stage, Hegseth. I want Ed Henry. I want Ainsley. I want all of them. It'll be like a night of like 18 comics. We'll have to pick a great charity. To raise money for, but it'll be an absolute blast. An absolute blast. Now, and this is scary. This is like my knee-jerk reaction. I want to get your feedback on this. I'm thinking, wow, I probably shouldn't advertise this.
Why?
Because of security concerns. Because it would be in Manhattan. It would be in one of the club I'm thinking about is Manhattan. But like, I don't want protesters, man. I don't even want to deal with protesters or any of that stuff. And I don't want the Kilmeades and the Steve. I don't want those guys to worry. You know, it should just be a fun evening.
Right now, those guys have to worry taking the train.
I tell you that thing with Kilmeade was very scary.
Yeah, I mean,
that was very scary.
You know, New York seems a little less. First of all, law enforcement still does their job in New York, right? So that's a plus. Look at what's going on in Portland. Like, don't do Portland. That would be bad.
Wow, that dude.
Andy No. Yeah.
Yeah, Andy Ngo, whatever his name is.
Yep.
Wow. That hopefully he's getting some help. He got for you, the listeners. He's got a big Twitter following, and he actually covered some stand up that I was doing in Portland and protesters. But he had a run in with Antifa, and wow, was it the Portland police who came out the other day and they were like, "Hey, we were crime free all day yesterday," just because they decided not to report it.
Yeah, they just decided not to take anybody's reports or do anything about it. I mean, the first thing that happened to Andy while he was there is somebody sprayed his camera with silly string, and he got punched in the gut in front of a cop. The cop didn't do anything because he didn't want to escalate the situation. So the cops are actually scared of those Antifa protesters.
Oh, I don't even want to make the joke. I don't even want to make the joke of what I'd like to do.
Yeah,
I don't even make the joke of what I'd like to do. But it would be hilarious and it would be fun, and I would videotape the whole thing. There would just be too much violence.
I just like to take some video from their behavior and the riot outside of the place called Cider Riot, where Andy actually got bear maced and all that, or bear sprayed.
Yeah.
I would just like to cut that video. Because it's Antifa. This is a group, Chris Cuomo, that freaking genius, likened to the soldiers who stormed Normandy. And just ask him, Chris, are these the people you're talking about?
Yeah.
Are these the people you're talking about?
I want to go to like WWE, like a WWE training camp. I want to go to a mixed martial, an MMA training camp. I want to get like 10 from each, 10 people from like kids who want to be wrestlers and 10 from MMA, and just have them dress up in suits and ties and have them march around Antifa singing God Bless America, wearing MAGA hats, and like just let them unleash. Just let them unleash. Just have at thee. It's so frustrating when you watch these douchey little kids with their little scarves on, and it's like, and like, I know it was like a girl who punched Andy in the face one time, and it's like they got their handkerchiefs on and their little hoodies with their little like, we're gonna fight fascism, and it's always some little, like, they want to sucker punch you. They want to, you're like, I scored a silly string on your camera and you can't touch me because there's a cop right there. This is a joke, you guys. I want to be abundantly clear. This is a joke. I would just, like, it's like that friend you have in college or high school who talks a lot of trash when they're drunk, and everybody's like, they're drunk, so I'm not going to fight back.
Right.
Like, I want people to, like, not, I'd love to see a real confrontation. I'd love to see one where, okay, the police are going to take a little walk. Now let's have at it. Now let's have at it. Let's do it. If you would like to physically confront me because you think I'm so evil, let's do it. And let's see what the outcome is like. Okay. We got off track. Sandler on SNL. It was wonderful. It was a breath of fresh air, man. It was a breath of fresh air. There was no Donald Trump skit. There was no, he's the worst president ever. There was no big blah, blah. It was just funny. It was funny. Sandler did Opera Man again, which, say what you will about Opera Man, but like, he took shots at the left. He took shots at the right. It was even-handed, and it doesn't have to be that every week. But like, it was just nice to see some kind of balance and just some kind of like dedication to, I just want to be funny. And I was very, very happy for Sandler. I don't know. It had been like 24 years since he'd been on that show. I don't know why so long. But it was good to see him back on.
He was also on it when it was still funny. So he just did what he's always done.
Did you see the opening number?
I didn't.
Oh, he does this song, I Was Fired. When it's Sandler and he can sing, and I was fired. And then Chris Rock comes out, and Sandler's like, what happened to you, Chris? And then Chris starts singing, I was fired. It was It was awesome. And then that kid, Pete Davidson, comes out and he goes, I was fired. And Sandler's like, not yet, you weren't. No, give it a couple weeks. It was a good show. It was a very funny show. So that was cool to watch. We've got we're all over the board here. We're all over the board, but I do not care.
The Democrat Senate committee was kind of funny yesterday.
Was that the Chicken Day?
No, it's not the Chicken Day. It's the day they put out a poll and asked Twitter generally if they'd rather have more judges like Ruth Bader Ginsburg or more judges like Brett Kavanaugh.
Oh, yeah.
And they lost, and they deleted it.
Yeah. That's the risk you run, man.
Yeah.
I've seen the other side of that too. I've seen there's a guy, oh my gosh, big right winger dude, and he did a poll, and it just becomes obvious. All right, this has gotten out of control. And like Media Matters has gotten a hold of it, and then you're just getting crushed. And then they put up they put up a tweet. Hey, come on, you guys, you got to vote in this poll. But it's like it's just too late. But Ruth, hey, I'm gonna need some proof of life on RBG. Is that chick still on the planet? When's the last time a photograph?
Is Shannon Bream the one that covers the Supreme Court for Fox? I think.
I believe so.
Yeah, she said she actually saw her in chambers like a week ago, so she's alive.
Okay. Whew, yeah. That makes me feel better. I would still like a picture of like her holding a USA Today. I want to see how she looks. I want to see her pallor, her skin tone, all that stuff. Oh my gosh! Watching Karl Rove this morning. God bless him. Everybody's looking for a gig. Everybody has to have a gig, but like Karl Rove talking about what Donald Trump needs to focus on to win in 2020 I just can't take it. I just can't take it. If I was a producer on that segment, I would be like, hey, don't ask Karl what Trump needs to do in 2020. And I'll give Chris Wallace credit on this, that he said it on today's show. Because like Brit Hume was like, here, the president needs to stop doing this. And then the left wingers were saying, here's what he needs to do. And then Chris Wallace, to his credit, is like, I don't know, you guys. Let's not forget, this is the dude who came out of nowhere, beat a ginormous field, didn't play by their rules, did his own thing. So maybe we have nothing to add.
That's actually almost self-insightful for Chris Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's almost like he did a little bit of self-reflection.
Or he just had an interview with the president, and the president's like, hey, let's not forget these morons. I didn't listen to them. So
right.
The economy's doing great. See, and it's like that wasn't. I don't mean to I'm not railing on Karl Rove or Brit Hume or anything. I'm just saying these are not normal times. These aren't regular times. They keep going, focus on the economy. And like, I think that ship has sailed. I think that ship has sailed. You can bring it up a couple times, just like, hey, yeah, and the economy, like as an add-on. But the days of, George Bush Sr. going, the economy is strong, the fundamentals are there, unemployment is 3.6. That's not the big exciting thing. You just say, yeah, and the economy's booming. We're crushing it. America's back. That's what you do. You got to get emotional about it. And that's something that Trump understands instinctively, and you can't even teach him that. I still think it's about the wall. I can't. I'm not done with the wall and illegal immigration.
Yeah, I'm not done by any means with immigration. And the Democrats are going to be hard pressed to go into 2020 without an actual position other than Trump's ideas are bad. I mean, that's all they've got. They don't have a policy prescription.
It is, and this is not hyperbole. I honestly don't know what they can run on other than we're going to give stuff away. That's literally all they have. Mm-hmm. And it's terrifying, especially when I actually was doing a bit on this down at Comedy and Magic. I'm working on a bunch of new material, but this bit did not go over well. But I thought the comedy in it is like when you've got the Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren talking about free this and Medicare for all, and they're talking about these socialist policies at the very same On the very day you can turn on your TV and watch Venezuela literally on fire. You can watch the government running over its own citizens.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how can you still talk about the nards to talk about, hey, these socialist policies, these are pretty awesome, when you can literally turn the channel and watch people dying in the streets because socialism sucks so bad. It's outrageous. It was funnier to me than it was to the people in the crowd.
They're not talking about socialism like Venezuela. They're talking about socialism like free market economies in Iceland and Denmark.
Yeah, that's what they say.
But those countries have actually come out and said, we score higher on freedom in our economy than the U.S. does. We are not socialist. We have redistribution programs, and we have a social compact that our citizens have bought into. But actually, we're rolling back a lot of that stuff. Like Denmark's college tuition program, disaster.
You know what we should do? This would be great. Do you know anybody who lives over there?
I don't.
In Denmark or Sweden or anywhere?
I don't, but the person, they actually did a video on PragerU from a guy who works in their economic council.
That's kind of, here's my idea. Like you send, I want like an American couple to go over there, or just an American girl or American, somebody who speaks English. They all speak English, but like,
right.
I just want somebody to walk into a restaurant and go, I'd like a cheeseburger, fries, and like order just like a regular meal. Order just like a regular meal, and then we can break down the cost of that. I don't think people realize the value added tax, the VAT. No. Like, it's outrageous. You are taxed up to your eyeballs. And then when you go out to get something nice, they just ream you a new one.
Yep. But, I mean, they don't even have a minimum wage.
Really?
Really?
That's insane.
I'm telling you, they have lower corporate taxes than we do. Even with the tax cuts, there's a 5-minute video on Prager University where the guy who works for the Economic Council in Denmark basically destroys the argument that they're socialist.
Well, good for PragerU. Huh? Good for PragerU.
But I mean, Iceland has done the same thing. Come out and said, guys, we're not socialists. Like, no, they are. We're not. I mean, look at our economy. Look at how it functions. Like, if the Green New Deal was proposed there, people in Iceland would be like, God, no.
Yeah. The people in Iceland would be like, you better make sure China and India have their act together before we start making a bunch of sacrifices. And we're doing great as America. We're doing great. We're still getting cleaner. I still look like pollution in the ocean, though, and it drives me crazy. Just drives me crazy. Well, we got to clean up the oceans. I'm a big clean water, clean air guy too.
Yep.
Don't ever want to forget that.
But
okay.
Where is all the garbage in the oceans really coming from?
I think you could probably go back to India and China on that one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or you know what? Listen, let's start gathering up. They say there's a big giant island of plastic the size of Texas. Let's start compacting that. Let's start compacting that to have a big floating island that just people could live on. It just randomly floats around. It'd be like Pirate Island, and we can just have mercenaries on it, and they just randomly float around and attack wherever they land.
Alternately, if you know where it is, go get it and recycle it.
Yeah. I like Pirate Island idea better. I like an island where we can just send prisoners and people, trade mercenaries, and just have them float around. They can fight each other. They can take over ships. It'd be exciting. And then you could televise it. Pirate Island this fall on Fox. I would totally watch that.
So we're not just going to abuse them. We're going to exploit them.
Well, I would share the wealth with them. If the show does well, if it does good enough in the ratings, we would certainly help them out. I'll get Mark Burnett to help me. It'll be Survivor. It's like a next level Survivor. is what we do.
That's how we got Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old
Prison
Australia.
colonies. What an idea.
Good. You get some good people, then you start finding minerals and some wacky kangaroos, and people all of a sudden want to live there. I want to close the show with this in this last like 8 minutes. We got another Game of Thrones coming up tonight. I'm very excited. It'll be a bit of a reset. You can't follow what happened last Sunday. That was just such excitement. It had been building for such a long time. And to the people who it was a very dark episode. It was like lit. It was a choice they made. And I just want to say this publicly. I think it was an awesome choice. It was a great choice, because when it is that dark and you're like, it wasn't like the whole show was like that, but it was like the battle scenes and stuff. I thought that was a great way to show like the fog of war. Like, should I attack that person? Is that a zombie? Is that my friend? I don't know. I thought it was very nicely done. Everybody keeps complaining about how dark it was, how dark it is. Well, it's in that time period, if you're out in the middle of the night and the moon isn't full and you don't have a torch, it's gonna be dark. And that adds to the fear and not knowing what's going on. And I will say this again, and because it drives me crazy, and it is the bee in my bonnet. I can't stop talking about how great George R.R. Martin is. It was the highest watched program HBO's ever had. Ever. It was huge. Social media, it just was ginormous. And all of these people are like, holy smoke, I can't believe, wow, there was a hint that this was going to happen in season 1. Oh, they said this was going to happen in season 3. And oh, look at this, in season 2, they reference, and no one is giving a shout out to the craftsman. When you're looking at that kind of attention to detail, and I'm saying this, I got my writer's hat on and my producer's hat on. The guys who adapted this for television have done a very nice job. And yay, hooray, they're going to do a Star Wars trilogy, yada, yada, good for them. But when you start talking about like the, holy crap, this was set up in season 1 and that was in season 2. That's because someone cared. There's a craftsman working here. There was a fine author by the name of George R.R. Martin. He invented it. He did all of it. And the guy's just not getting the credit he deserves. Everybody, oh, HBO, oh, this actress, oh, this, oh, that. And no one's talking about the dude who created the source material. And it's the same thing that you see happening with Star Wars now. Like, Star Wars has gone off the rail because they keep getting farther and farther away from the source material, which is George Lucas, which is a sad thing. We'll see what happens with J.J. Abrams. Hopefully they'll release another trailer to that soon. And I wish I had the sound clip for this. I don't, and I won't even. I might try to get it to Kung Fu Rick so he can put it in. I saw a clip because Peter Mayhew died the other day.
Yeah, I saw
the guy
that.
who played Chewbacca. There was 2 things that were really fantastic. One is an outtake from not Return of the Jedi, but The Empire Strikes Back, and it makes sense to me. But Chewbacca is fixing the ship, and this did not go in the final film. This is just a take that they did. Chewbacca's fixing the ship. The camera's really up high. It's an overhead shot. Harrison Ford comes walking in as Han Solo, and Peter Mayhew, the actor, starts shaking his wrench, and you can hear him inside the mask going, "Hey, where have you been?" And Harrison Ford is like, "I was trying to get the thing." and Peter Mayhew's like, "Well, we've got to fix this ship. It's not going to fix itself. Come on, we got to go now." Like, it totally never occurred to me that like he was actually talking like human, like he was speaking English to Harrison Ford to give him something to react off of, right? And so to hear it, it was just outrageously funny to me. It was just outrageously funny to me to hear Chewbacca talking with this English accent. Hey, where have you been? And this is a wonderful, heartwarming thing, and it's important to me. So ergo, it has to be important to you guys. There was somebody put it on Twitter. There was a clip from an interview that Harrison Ford did like in 1977 talking about filming the first Star Wars movie, and the guy interviewing him is like, "So what's it like working with Chewbacca?" And Harrison Ford, God bless that guy, goes, "Well, there's a guy in there, and his name is Peter Mayhew, and he's a fine actor. And just like immediately pivoted away from the real pedestrian thing of like, hey, Chewbacca's a real. If you don't feed him by noon, he'll rip your arm off. It could have been really horrible, but he gave Peter Mayhew his credit, and God bless this guy. He's like 7 foot something. He was an orderly in a hospital. Had like done nothing really in terms of film. He gets the part of Chewbacca, and it's like the biggest movie ever. It's the biggest movie ever, right. And he goes back to working as an orderly in the hospital.
Really?
So then he went back to wait. He was just this big, lovable British giant who's like in the biggest box office movie of 1977, 1978, right. And he's just walking around the halls at the hospital again. So then they do the sequel. They do The Empire Strikes Back, and he after that goes back to work at the hospital. Just a beautiful man. Right. It wasn't until after Return of the Jedi, I guess, where he had enough money. He's like, okay, I guess I'm okay, and I'll be doing enough, personal appearances that I don't have to go back to the hospital. It's very sad that Chewbacca's dead, but Peter Mayhew seemed like a very, very, very good dude. It bums me out. And the bluest eyes you've ever seen. The bluest eyes you've ever seen. Google a picture of Peter Mayhew. It's his eyeballs are shockingly blue. He's like a White Walker from Game of Thrones.
Did they put context on him then? Because I don't remember Chewbacca's eyes being shockingly blue.
Oh yeah, they are. There's just so much shadow.
Maybe
but yeah, they have another.
They're so kind of like set into the mask or whatever.
Yeah. There's so much in there. So Star Wars Land has opened. I failed. I haven't gotten my reservations yet, but I do want to go to Star Wars Land in Disney World. I don't know when I'll be able to get in there, but I want to check that out.
I really just hope it focuses on the original trilogy, because
it's I'm already starting to get it. Last weekend was such a big weekend for pop culture between Avengers Endgame and Game of Thrones having this giant episode. It was really like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of event. I don't know when we're going to get something that big again. I got a bad feeling about this for Marvel. I don't know what they're going to set up. I don't know who the next villain's going to be. I'm going to sadly, you're going to miss a lot of these characters. I don't know if they can. I don't know. We'll see if they can pull it off with just Black Panther and just Falcon and
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's good, but I tell you what, have you seen the trailer for the new Spider-Man?
Yeah.
It doesn't look that compelling to me. Doesn't look that compelling. Oh, wow, Peter Parker's on a field trip. Like, really? It seems like Brady Bunch goes to Hawaii. Friends goes to England. It just, it doesn't seem like a good episode. And, will I see it? I will.
I gotta believe, I like Guardians too much to believe that that's not going to be good.
Well, James Gunn is back as the director. They quietly held out. They kind of kept it under the radar, but he's back as directing. I just don't think it's a good idea. I don't know if Thor is going to be in that movie or not, but you got too much comedy there. Too much comedy. It's the death of comic book movies.
I think I'm going to be probably still pretty interested in the movies from the characters that I already like and care about.
Yeah.
Any that are centered around them. And I mean, I even like Ant-Man and the Wasp. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I liked that movie. It was fine.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was just fun and good, and I loved Michael Douglas in it, and, it's good.
Too much comedy, though. Too much comedy.
But I don't see how they put the group thing together again.
Oh, you can't. You're years away from doing it. You're years away from doing it.
And especially if you're, I mean, they knew that the only reason Captain Marvel made money is because of where they inserted her into the Avengers franchise, and you can tell they know she's not a good character by how small a role she played in Endgame.
Yeah, you said it, sister. Mm-hmm. They took a look at what happened to Return of the Jedi or whatever, and what they did there, and they realized they were going probably a little bit too far with the girl power, and they made a good decision. They made a good decision.
Yes,
so far, Captain Marvel is not compelling at all. She is no Ridley from Alien. No.
She's leading a franchise. Did you see Chris Hemsworth look at her in that interview? Oh my God. Chris Hemsworth's like, who are you?
Yeah. And everybody who's like, you're just afraid of a strong female comic book character. I kind of loved Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
I kind of loved it, and I could watch it right now.
Yep.
Okay, that is an episode. You guys, wonderful things. Again, just I like to share my enthusiasm. Big day for the LoftusParty.com. A lot of people signing up. A lot of people joining. So that's wonderful. The YouTube channel is going fantastic. The Facebook page is going fantastic. We're doing it. Keep sharing. I'm adding some more dates to the Loftus Party live show. I'll just let you know this. Nashville, May 28th. Huntsville, May 29th. Then we've got Kansas City, June 4. Omaha, June 5. Des Moines, Iowa, June 6th. Then now we're talking about Syracuse, Albany, and Hartford on June 11, 12, 13. And now there's going to be an Orlando and Tampa stop, and as well as the New York, Manhattan. So it's wonderful. I don't want to jinx anything. I want to keep the freight train rolling all night long. So you're awesome. Stay in touch. I'll see you guys at LoftusParty.com.